I could feel the bass pounding through my body as I moved on the dance floor, my dress riding up with every sway of my hips. The lights flashed across my skin, casting shadows that danced with me. Two sets of eyes had been watching me all night, intense, hungry, patient. I turned, meeting their gaze across the crowded room, and that's when I knew this night would be different. The taller one smiled first, slow and deliberate. His friend leaned closer, whispering something that made them both chuckle. I tilted, my head, hair cascading over my shoulder, and crooked my finger at them. "Come here." They didn't hesitate. Before we dive in, please take a second to like this video and hit subscribe. It's quick, easy, and your support means everything to me. Plus, you won't miss what's coming next. Trust me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. The music throbbed around us as they approached, confidence radiating from every step. The first one. Ace had dark hair and shoulders that filled out his shirt perfectly. His friend Roan was leaner but moved with the same predatory grace. They flanked me without a word, and suddenly the dance floor felt smaller, more intimate. "You've been putting on quite a show," Ace murmured against my ear, his breath warm against my neck. The vibration of his voice sent electricity down my spine. I pressed back against him, feeling the solid warmth of his chest. "Show's just getting started," I whispered back, my voice barely audible over the pounding music. Roan stepped closer in front of me, his hands finding my waist. I was caught between them now, their heat surrounding me, their scent mixing with the club's smoky atmosphere. The three of us moved together, finding a rhythm that had nothing to do with the music and everything to do with the tension crackling between us. My body responded instinctively, arching into their touch, craving more contact. Ace's hands traced down my sides while Roan's fingers brushed along my thighs, each touch sending waves of warmth through me. "There's a private room upstairs," Roan said, his lips close to my temple. "More comfortable than this crowd?" I should have said no. Should have walked away, gone home to my empty apartment, been responsible. Instead, I nodded, my pulse racing with anticipation. They led me through the throng of bodies past the main bar, up a staircase I'd never noticed before. The VIP area was dimly lit, plush velvet couches arranged around low tables. The music was muted here, replaced by the sound of our breathing, the rustle of fabric, the quiet intensity that had been building all night. Ace closed the door behind us with a soft click. "Are you sure about this?" Roan asked, his voice gentler now, giving me an out if I wanted it. I appreciated that, the way he checked, the way they both waited for my answer. I walked to the center of the room, turning to face them both. I've never been more sure of anything. That was all the invitation they needed. Ace reached me first, his hands cupping my face as he kissed me deep and thorough, tasting like whiskey and promises. I melted into him, my fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. Behind me, I felt Roan's presence, his hands settling on my shoulders, his lips finding the sensitive spot where my neck met my collarbone. The sensation of being between them, wanted by both, overwhelmed me in the best way. Every nerve ending was alive, responding to their different touches, their contrasting energies. Ace was direct, commanding, his kisses demanding my full attention. Roan was more subtle, his touch lighter but no less effective, finding spots that made me gasp and arch against them both. My dress became an inconvenience, fabric that kept me from feeling their skin against mine. Ace seemed to read my mind, his fingers finding the zipper, drawing it down slowly. The dress pooled at my feet, leaving me exposed but not vulnerable, not with the way they were looking at me like I was something precious and desired. "Beautiful," Roan breathed, his hands skimming over my exposed skin, raising goosebumps in their wake. So responsive. I reached for them both, needing to feel them, to reciprocate the pleasure they were giving me. My hands found the buttons of Ace's shirt, working them open with trembling fingers. Roan helped, shedding his own clothes with efficient movements. Soon we were all skin and heat and desperate touches. The couch welcomed us, soft leather against my back as they positioned themselves on either side of me. Ace's mouth found mine again while Roan's lips traced a path down my throat, across my collarbone, lower. I was drowning in sensation, in the contrast between them, Ace's demanding kisses and Roan's gentle exploration. "Tell us what you want," Ace murmured against my lips, his hand trailing down my stomach, making me shiver with anticipation. "Both of you," I whispered, surprising myself with my boldness. "I want to feel both of you." They exchanged a look over my head, some silent communication, passing between them. Then Roan shifted, his mouth replacing his hands, finding spots that made me cry out softly. Ace kissed me deeper, swallowing my sounds, his own breathing growing ragged. The pleasure built slowly, each touch layering on the last, creating something bigger than the sum of its parts. I was lost in it, in them, in the way they seemed to, anticipate my needs before I knew them myself. Roan's gentle persistence combined with Ace's intensity created a perfect storm of sensation that left me trembling. More, I managed to gasp, not sure what I was asking for but knowing I needed it. They understood. Ace shifted beneath me, his strong arms lifting me effortlessly, positioning me exactly where he wanted me. The first touch of him against me made me inhale sharply, my body adjusting to accommodate him. He moved slowly, carefully, letting me set the pace until I was ready for more. Roan was there too, his hands steady on my hips, his mouth finding mine, kissing me deeply as I began to move. The sensation was overwhelming, being filled so completely, while surrounded by their attention, their desire, their care for my pleasure. We found a rhythm together, all three of us moving in sync, each motion building on the last. I was supported between them, safe to let go completely, to chase the pleasure that was building inside me with increasing intensity. That's it, Ace encouraged, his voice rough with his own need. Let go for us. I did. The climax hit me in waves, starting deep inside and radiating outward until every part of me was trembling with it. They held me through it, their own breathing harsh, their own control hanging by threads. But we weren't finished. As I came down from the first high, Roan shifted, taking Ace's place beneath me while Ace moved to kiss and touch me from a different angle. The change in position, in sensation, sparked new fires inside me. Roan was different from Ace, gentler in his approach but no less thorough. He took his time, building the pleasure slowly, making me arch against him as he found exactly the right spots to make me gasp his name. Ace's hands and mouth never stopped moving over my skin, doubling the sensations, making it impossible to think of anything beyond this moment. Time blurred. We moved together like dancers who had practiced for years, each knowing instinctively what the others needed. They switched positions again, and I found myself between them in a new way, both of them touching me, both focused on my pleasure with an intensity that left me breathless. The second peak built differently, slower but deeper, spreading through my entire body like warm honey. When it crested, I cried out, my voice echoing in the private room, my body shaking with the force of it. They weren't far behind. I felt Ace tense beneath me, his hands gripping my hips as he reached his own completion with a low groan. Roan followed moments later, his breathing harsh against my neck as he held me close. We collapsed together on the wide couch, a tangle of satisfied limbs and racing hearts. The club's music filtered through the walls, a distant reminder of the world outside this perfect bubble we'd created. That was... I started, then trailed off, not sure how to finish the sentence. Incredible, Roan supplied, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my shoulder. Unforgettable, Ace added, pressing a soft kiss to my temple. We lay there in comfortable silence for a while, skin cooling in the air conditioning, hearts gradually returning to normal rhythms. I should have felt awkward, should have been planning my escape, but instead I felt peaceful, satisfied in a way I hadn't experienced before. Eventually, reality intruded. The club would close soon, and we all had lives to return to. We dressed, slowly, reluctantly, the intimacy of the moment gradually giving way to something more uncertain. Will we see you again? Roan asked as we prepared to leave the private room. I looked at both of them, these two men who had given me something I hadn't even known I was looking for. Maybe, I said, and meant it. The night's still young after all. We made our way back downstairs together, but something had shifted. The club felt different now, louder and more chaotic after the intimacy we'd just shared. They walked me to the exit, both of them clearly reluctant to let the night end. Thank you, I said simply, meaning it more than they could know. Thank you, Ace replied, his eyes intense, even in the flashing lights. I walked away without looking back, but I could feel their eyes on me until I disappeared into the Miami night. The warm air wrapped around me like a caress, carrying the scent of ocean and possibility. At home, I replayed every moment, every touch, every whispered word. I'd surprised myself tonight, stepping so far outside my usual boundaries, but I didn't regret it. If anything, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in months. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Had to get your number from the bartender. Hope that's okay. Tonight was amazing. Ace, a second message followed. We'd love to see you again whenever you're ready. No pressure. Roan. I stared at the messages for a long time before responding. Tonight was perfect. Let's see what happens. The next few days passed in a haze of ordinary life, work, errands, the usual routine. But underneath it all, I carried the memory of that night like a secret flame. Every time I thought about it, my skin warmed, my pulse quickened. They texted occasionally, nothing pushy, just checking in. Sweet messages that made me smile, made me remember the way they'd taken care of me, made sure I was comfortable and satisfied. A week later, I found myself back at the same club. I told myself I was just there to dance, to blow off steam after a long week. But when I saw them at the bar, my heart raced in recognition. This time there was no hesitation, no uncertainty. We came together like magnets, our bodies remembering the connection we'd forged. The dance floor became our stage again, but this time we barely made it through 2 songs before we were heading back upstairs. "Missed us?" Ace asked, his hands already finding familiar places on my body. "More than I expected," I admitted, surprising myself with my honesty. The second time was different from the first, less desperate, more exploratory. We took our time, learning each other's preferences, pushing boundaries gently. They were attentive lovers, creative and generous, always making sure I was with them every step of the way. Afterwards, as we lay entwined on the couch, Roan traced patterns on my bare shoulder. "We should do this properly sometime," he said quietly. "Dinner, maybe? Get to know each other outside of this." I considered it. The idea of seeing them in daylight, of having conversations that didn't lead directly to physical intimacy, was both appealing and terrifying. "Maybe," I said, the same answer I'd given before, but this time it felt more like a yes. Over the following weeks, we developed a pattern. Sometimes we met at the club, sometimes at their apartment, sometimes at mine. What started as purely physical began to develop emotional undertones, inside jokes, shared meals, quiet conversations in the aftermath of passion. I learned that Ace was an architect, meticulous and creative, with hands that built beautiful things. Roan was a photographer, artistic and intuitive, with an eye for capturing perfect moments. They'd been friends since college, had shared experiences like this before, but they both insisted this felt different. "You're not just someone we're sharing time with," Ace told me one evening as we watched the sunset from his balcony. "You're part of something bigger." I understood what he meant. What we had wasn't just about shared desire, it was about connection, about finding something rare and precious in the midst of ordinary life. The arrangement worked for months. I had the best of both worlds, the security of knowing I was cared for, the excitement of unpredictability, the satisfaction of being desired by 2 incredible men who respected both me and each other. But eventually, questions started creeping in. Where was this leading? What did we call ourselves? How long could we exist in this beautiful bubble before the outside world demanded definitions? One night, after particularly intense shared warmth, I voiced my concerns. "What happens when one of you meets someone else, when you want something more traditional?" They exchanged one of their looks, and Roan spoke first. "What makes you think we want something more traditional than this?" "This is working," Ace added. "Why would we want to change it?" Their certainty was reassuring, but I still felt the weight of societal expectations, the pressure to fit into conventional relationship models. We talked about it extensively, working through the complexities, the potential challenges, the need for clear communication and boundaries. In the end, we decided to take it one day at a time, to enjoy what we had without forcing it into predetermined shapes. Some nights we were together, sometimes apart. Sometimes it was just me and Ace, sometimes me and Roan, sometimes all 3 of us. The flexibility was liberating. Looking back now, I realized that night at the club changed everything for me. It wasn't just about the physical pleasure, though that was incredible. It was about discovering parts of myself I didn't know existed, about learning that love and desire don't always follow traditional rules. Have you ever had a moment that completely shifted your perspective on what's possible? A night that made you question everything you thought you knew about yourself and what you wanted? Sometimes the most unexpected encounters lead to the most beautiful discoveries. Tell me in the comments, would you have the courage to follow your desires into uncharted territory? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.